Hello and welcome to a new series on my channel, Is It Worth?, where I look at the pros and cons of something to see if it's worth your time and money. I've kept the title vague enough so I can cover things like anime, video games, manga, or if you should double text that girl who's kept you unread for 2 days. The answer's no for that one. But to kick the series off and to be a pseudo-Halloween special, we're going to be looking at the latest reboot/port of Corpus Party, probably better known as Corpus Party, the back-to-school edition for 3DS. With a game that's had a lot of versions like this, there are a lot of questions involved, like, is the newest one better than the version prior? If I played it before, should I get it again? What exactly is different? So, I hope to be answering these questions. Now, I can't talk about this version without going over Corpus Party in general, so let's do that first. If you played it before, you can skip to this part of the video, but if you haven't, then let me enlighten you. Okay, Corpus Party in general is a good game. That's full stop, that should be the end of it. No, I should elaborate, so I'm going to break this section into 5 bits, and I'll go into each section into more detail. It's one of those games that packs a heftier punch if you go in knowing less about it, so I'm not going to go into the specifics of the plot, but at its core, Corpus Party is a straightforward ghost story, but it stays interesting with the finer details of the plot and the little things you discover while exploring. It gets very twisted if the name didn't tip you off, but I never personally found it to be cringy or edgy, which I feel some anime and Japanese games can be. I did get that feeling during the anime though, and I'm not sure why. The game also plays around with space and time in a way I've never seen before in a video game. The school is afflicted by earthquakes that not only change the layout physically, but it also moves the characters through time, and I'd go into more detail, but spoilers. It is explained in the story though, don't worry, and it leads to some very interesting situations. Like realizing you've been passing the remains of one of your friends over and over again in an earlier chapter, as you see the death unfold much later in the game. So, it's just things like that that makes it very engaging. The cast of Corpse Party are for the most part interesting and feel like people instead of bundles of gimmicky traits. I can't say that's true for everyone, but my feelings are overall positive. There are a few characters that are really likable, such as Seiko and Naomi, who came as little figures in the back-to-school edition. I find it hard to relate to characters in horrors a lot of the time, but this is a big exception, and I think they did a wonderful job. The regular gameplay visuals of Corpus Party aren't exactly stunning. The art has been upgraded a few times since it came out in '96, but it's never really impressed me. But that's not to say that it's bad. In fact, in my personal opinion, it's nostalgic. It reminds me of old JRPGs from the time, and I guess it makes it unique in a way. Its low detail lets you fill in things in your head, which I'll get more into in the sound design section, and the character art is definitely great. I do enjoy the character art quite a bit, like the stills when people are talking, and the CG is also a very good quality, which, for some people that might not be a good thing, because some of the CGs are a little intense. Okay, the sound design, whew. Alright, I've been waiting to talk about this. It is so good. Play this game with headphones. Corpus Party uses black screens and graphic descriptions with their sounds in order to create horror on this entirely different level. The amazingly grotesque sound effects and voice acting are handled with just such an incredible amount of skill. I will always remember this one scene in the game which sent shivers down my spine. It was so intense. I had to use all of my willpower just not to turn off the volume. I just wanted to read it. I didn't want to hear it. You know, that was enough. Oh man. And if you played the game, you probably know what scene I'm talking about. But it involves scissors. The music in the game is also really good. It doesn't always fit the mood of what's going on, but I really enjoy it. If you want to give any of the soundtrack a listen, it's on YouTube. Shangri-La and the Chapter 1 theme are two of my favorites. You know what? I'll put a link for them here. Just check them out. In general, the game has a very good soundtrack, but if you want to give it a listen, I would suggest those two. So, the final thing I want to talk about is the gameplay, which I believe to be the worst aspect of Corpse Party by far. Even though it's technically a JRPG, the game operates more like a visual novel, if you ever played those. There's one good ending and multiple bad endings for each chapter, and the game is very light in actual interactivity. It mostly consists of moving around, clicking on something. If it kills you, you restart. If it doesn't, you move on. Although there are a few inescapable deaths. There are a few puzzles, death traps, and ghosts you need to overcome, but there aren't any traditional fights as you would expect from, again, an RPG. There's also a lot of moving around rooms and backtracking and clicking everything in order to discover the way to move on, which is very dated. I have memories of doing that as a kid, but games nowadays usually don't do that because it can be, well, boring. And because the level of interaction is so low, moving around can start to feel monotonous, and I think that's all I have to say about that. In my opinion, this is saved by the other aspects of the game, but it's still definitely important to know if you're considering getting this, but just know that I don't think this matters as much as everything else is good about this game. To sum up my thoughts, Corpse Party is, like I said before, a good game. It tells an entrancing story that will stick with you. It can feel dated at times, I admit, and it's not for everyone, but I do believe it is worth most people's time and cash. Now that you've just watched or skipped over my review of Corpse Party itself, we can look at the key differences of this new version and see if it's really worth it. Sadly, this game is not entirely in 3D. I wasn't expecting it to be because when I first saw it at the 3, it wasn't, but it's still disappointing, I guess. It's a game on the 3DS. You would think at least the menus would pop out, or the dialogue, but instead they just have some of the CG be in 3D, which is nice. I really like that, but I don't know. Maybe I personally expected too much, but I would have liked for there to be more 3D elements in the game. The game has 4 extra chapters that supplement the story, which are kind of hard to unlock, but they're very cool, and they flesh out some more stuff. I think it's always fun to re-enter a world through new eyes and do different things and learn new information. So for me, this is definitely a pro of the game. I really like the 4 extra chapters. The new art is nothing game-changing, I'd say, but to be honest, I really like it. I I think it makes the game look a lot less dated and more serious, and it's definitely more of an opinion thing, but I think it's a definite plus. The newly arranged music is also nothing game-changing but nice. There's also by our real, I'm forgetting how to pronounce the word, but 3D audio, which is amazing for immersion. I don't remember if this was in one of the previous versions of the games or not, though, so I can't say that this is something particularly special about this version, but if it is, I would say this is a definite positive, because it really, really helps with feeling the game, and it's a wonderful thing. There's also a special exclusive box you get for about $20 more than buying the game on the eShop. It comes with figures of Seiko and Naomi, as well as a CD with the soundtrack on it. And I actually did an unboxing of that on my channel if you're new here, which you can check. And it's pretty cool, to be honest. I liked it. So, overall, is the Corpse Party Back to School Edition worth it? No, probably not. At least not if you aren't already a fan, I don't think. I just don't know a reason why someone would buy figures to characters they don't know, or a soundtrack that they haven't heard or know the context to. I believe everyone should give Corpse Party a chance, especially if they enjoy horror, but I also believe in saving your money. I don't think the special edition gives enough just to justify its price. I would recommend getting the eShop version the most if you have a 3DS, because it's the most up-to-date and it's not expensive. The Steam version is nice too, and it should be the way to go if you don't have a 3DS. There's also the PSP version, which might be my previous personal favorite, but not that many people have a PSP. So, what can you do? If you are a fan and you have a 3DS, I think you already know if you want it or not, but my recommendation would be yes, it is worth it, especially if you don't already own a physical copy of the game, because the exclusive content's really cool. I own it myself, and I don't regret it at all. So I hope this video was informative. If you liked it, a thumbs up would be appreciated. If you hated it, a comment would be if you hated it. If you hated it, it sounds weird coming out of my mouth, but I guess that's correct. Anyway, if you disliked it, a comment would be appreciated so I know what to do better. I hope on, making my channel as good as it can be, so, feedback would be appreciated. Subscribe if you want more video gaming content. I'm hoping to rev up my channel a bit more, so thank you. I hope you have a good day.